Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our institution of Global Professional Fee International webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this wonderful evening. My lovely audience, today I am your host for this evening. I requested to our participants to share this webinar on your newsfeed and invite your friend. Thank you all again for joining us today in this marvelous evening, and it's my humble request to you all that you stay with us till end and don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends. So let's together and learn together. Today we have a speaker from India. Today our speaker name is Kanika Priya, and she is assistant professor English at Sarada Gandharan College from India. Let's welcome our ma'am to the screen. Hello ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Good evening
Am I
ma'am.
audible? Yes.
Madam, give a short description about yourself, then you can start your presentation.
Okay. So this is Priya, assistant professor of English from Puducherry. It is in India. So I have so far done my MPhil, double MA also. One is in English literature and the other is in linguistics. As well as I have done my MPhil thesis on Indian literature. Um, the most probably I have also won a gold medal for that particular thesis, and my PhD was on stylistics. I have also done lot of publications. I have also done lot of attended lot of conferences. I have also been a resource person at many institutions so far. And now this webinar, I'm really thankful for inviting me to this platform here. I thank Institute of Global Professionals for this wonderful opportunity to be here. This particular webinar will give you an insight to many eminent poets over the world. Um, shall I start my presentation?
Yes ma'am, you can share your screen now.
Okay, sir. So I can share my screen. Um, I hope it's visible, right?
Yes ma'am,
Yes.
it's visible.
Okay,
You
okay. So the topic is eminent poets recapturing through words and themes. This particular topic, for what purpose I have chosen this is, I hope what is the day tomorrow will be known to all, right? So nothing to be having a hidden process and all. It is nothing but 21st March, which has been worldwide known as World Poetry Day. Yes. So for this purpose, I thought I can give you an insight to many eminent poets. As far this session will be for 80 minutes, even though I can give you some poets to your vision, I can highlight some poets around the world. I can give you an insight to their themes as well as the poems which was written by them. So this particular day, the day we are going to celebrate tomorrow, is the occasion to honor the poets. I feel this is the thing we have to do for each and every poet so far they have given us in English literature. So this platform I use to tribute them. I'm honoring them along with you all. I hope we all have a great day tomorrow. So this particular day as a World Poetry Day. This has been proposed by UNESCO every 21st of March. Since 1999, it has been there. So, for what purpose it is there is, you all know that poetry has been started initially as that of a oral tradition, as that of a oral way of conveying their experience or conveying their own ideas or their own thoughts. This poetry was being initiated, and later, for what purpose it is there, even till now, is the purpose is to read, to write, even for teaching also. So people not only read, they learn, they by heart. You all know, even the children do a by heart of poems and all. For what purpose is that is, like they can learn the language through the poem. They can learn the language along with the poem. They can have the same ideas even as the poet had conveyed as though. And the next thing is, the main theme of this particular World Poetry Day can be said as, this is to recall the role of poetry in the survival of ancient languages. So, one when a particular person want to know the language, to know the rhyme scheme, to know the particular uh, rhythm and all, what will be very important is to know poem. So the role of poetry is that which develops the world, and it is the one which enrich the world also. And now, as I told you, we are going to honor and we are going to give a tribute to the eminent poets through their words as well as through their thoughts. So, first of all, I just want to introduce some of the American poets. Though I could not elaborate more poets today, I've just been here with few poets which I can give it to you. I can introduce some of the themes to you. So, American poets, though there are many poets, first of all, I have chosen Robert Frost. You all will know him as Robert Lee Frost, who is a well known poet, who is a playwright, and he says that the poetry is nothing but it is the saving power for itself. So when a man is towards arrogance, or when a man is being towards corruption and all, what is the thing that saves him is the poetry. So uh, if he or she is being very arrogant, so poetry will remind them to maintain some limitation. So that is how Robert Frost feels, and he feels that poetry remains people about its richness, about the diversity of its existence. So if there is a corruption also in the world, what will clean the world is only poetry. So that is what Robert Frost feels. And there are a lot of poem written by Robert Frost, and as I told us, I have just brought few poems to your high side, to you, to please your eyes. So first one is The Road Not Taken, uh, and the next one is Stopping by Hoods on a snowy evening, Fire and Ice, Mending Wall, and Birches. So each and every poem of Robert Frost will have certain themes. So as per my own analyzation, what I understood is, like, the themes which have been chosen by Robert Frost are like, it talks about rural life, it talks about social issues, it talks about the philosophical concepts as well as nature. So when we see the first poem, which is titled as The Road Not Taken, it is also give you an interpretation of expressing his own risky decision whether to leave America for a uncertain future in the country where he could write poetry in a peaceful poverty. So this is one of the interpretation. But when we see the words, like, we are just here to have a recapture of the eminent poets through their words, right? So we are just going to have an insight to their words. So how this poem starts is like, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. So this is how a philosophical concept can be introduced. This is how the naturistic concept is introduced. You can see this poem initially starts with yellow wood. So it is nothing but a forest, and you all know that it is a concept related to nature. So the poet starts this way, that he, as a traveler, is confused to choose which road. So either to choose the road which was being traveled by all, or to use the road which is less traveled by. So finally, he chooses the one which is less traveled by, and that has made all the difference in his life. So through the lines, we can see that two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down, one as far as I could, to where it went in the underground. So the poet is just standing on the road as that of a traveler. He just want to choose any of the one, and finally, what he chooses is the one which is less traveled by. And you can see this interpretation, as we saw earlier, is as a poet, he just want to leave America for uncertain future. So whether to go or not, so that decision is being interpreted through this particular poem. And the other poem, which was written by Robert Frost, is Stopping by Woods. So again, you can see the concept of woods. Again, you can see the concept of nature also. So here, the poet has been riding a horse towards a forest, and there it is very much filled with snow. So he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So as he takes a horse, the horse is being questioned, for what purpose my master is stopping me here. So again, we can see the nature connection towards the poet. So my little horse must think it cure to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So the horse has been questioned, for what purpose my master has been here without any a farmhouse near this particular place. Also, my master has been stopped here. So actually, the poet just have a connection towards her nature, and he just want to admire it. And while he stands up, the horse is shaking its bell to ask if there is any mistake, or the one sound which will make the poet to awake from that particular moment. So the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promised to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This last stanza actually shows that not only the connection of nature is being shown through the theme of this particular poem, but also we can see an message which is conveyed by poet to the readers, that before we sleep, before we end our life, what we have to do is we have to move on, we have to keep moving on. There are a lot of things to be done. That is what his intention, that is what the idea that he want to convey to the readers. And the next poem, which was written by Robert Frost, is Birches. So here again, you can see, first of all we saw the road, secondly we saw woods, thirdly we are going to see again the tree, which is called to be Birches. So each and every poem of Robert Frost give you an evidence that it shows you how the poet is connected towards nature. And here, the birches is nothing but the tree. It has been bent. The actual reason for its bend is it is bent due to ice storm. But the poet never want to agree with that idea. He just say that the people or the children who just hang around that particular birches, they just clutch it. They just do a swinging. So while they swing, what will happen is he thinks that due to the swing, the tree got bent. Finally, at the end of the poem, only we know that it is not due to their swing, but due to ice storm. Actually, here we can also see the philosophical touch which is given by the poet. Like the children, while they want to swing, what they will do is they just want to go up. While they go up, they think that they want to be connected with heaven. They think that the heaven is the beautiful place rather than the earth to live on. But while they come back, while they swing back and come, what will happen? What will they think is Earth is the right place to live. So they will think that Earth is the right place to live. So the particular concept, like wherever we go, like that of our Earth will never. We will never have an opportunity to live. That is what the main idea that the poet want to convey. And the next thing is, here we can see the eminent poet among the eminent poets. The second one is Walt Whitman. So all of you will know that he is a poet, he is an essayist, he is a journalist, and more probably he's been called as the father of free verse. He usually celebrate freedom and dignity of the individual, and he sang the praises of democracy as well as the brotherhood of man. And many of the themes that Walt Whitman used in his poems are as that of transition, transcendentalism, as well as realism. So thinking beyond our body, that is what his main concept is. And many of his poem, like a few poems I have brought to your eyes is "Oh Captain, My Captain," when lilacs last in durian bloom, leaves of grass. Actually, this "Oh Captain, My Captain" as well as when lilacs last in durian bloom, these two poems as well as leaves of grass also will give you a concept of American Civil War. So Walt Whitman talks about American Civil War as well as death of Abraham Lincoln in these poems. So how much he have love on Abraham Lincoln will be seeing in this particular poems. So "Oh Captain, My Captain" is about like it starts with the black freedom. Like they will won civil war, they will be very much enjoying that they got they have won the war. But uh, that is one purpose that shows that joy, as well as the grief will also be included in this poem by showing that Abraham Lincoln is no more. And as well as the people who are standing by the shore, they will be inviting the ship. They will think that Abraham Lincoln is arrived, and they just want to wish him and all. But they will be very pride enough that they won the war. But the other side of that particular poem will be agony, where we see Abraham Lincoln is lying on the deck. So this is how "Oh Captain, My Captain" gives a tribute to Abraham Lincoln, as well as you can see that the feeling or the pain or the agony which has been showed by the poet. So the words like the stanza particularly to show is the second stanza will give you an evidence that how the poet have much love, and the feeling that the poet have when Abraham Lincoln had died. So, but oh heart, 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 oh the pleading drops of blood, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. So the line "fallen cold and dead," you can see it is repeated even in the fourth stanza as well as in the sixth stanza. So the connection that the poet want us to have is he just want us to remind that the captain is died. People are being waiting, they just want to enjoy their success, but at last they could not even bear that Abraham Lincoln has died. And also you can feel this poet is talking about the pulse that he could not hear from Abraham Lincoln. Everything is stopped. Abraham Lincoln body has been laid on the deck. He's just worried about that, and finally he says, "Exalt, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I will mournful tread walk the deck, my captain lies fallen cold and dead." So actually, the bells are being ringing. They are just want to invite Abraham Lincoln to their place. They just want to give him a handshake and all. But what happened? It ends in a agony. So this is what Walt Whitman gives you a connection to the great President Abraham Lincoln. And the other thing is, you can see even in the next poem, when lilacs last in durian bloom, you can see the same concept is traveling. Even Leaves of Grass is a epic collection of poems. You can see a lot of like 400 poems you will be seeing in that particular collection, and each and every poem of Walt Whitman which have been brought here is, it talks about death of Abraham Lincoln as well as American Civil War. And the next thing that we are going to see, the eminent poet in America is Emily Dickinson. So she is the one who wrote 800 poems while she was living, but only 7 out of 800 got published when she was alive. Rest of her poems, actually, while she was writing the poems, none of them will know that it is poem. Once after she died, her sister only took all the collection which was written by Emily Dickinson, and she is the one who published her work. The works or the poems that was published by uh, which was written by Emily Dickinson is Success is Counted Sweetest, Because I Could Not Stop for That. So her concept, her theme, we can say that she talks about death. So that is what many people can also get connected, and we can also feel what type of feeling the poet has as a reader. So success is counted sweetest. Here usually poets will talk about success, about the war, but here Emily Dickinson's want us even to look after the people who are defeated in the war. So she says that not only people should not only say that success is sweetest, even there is also people, we just celebrate success but we ignore or we regret to see the people who are being defeated in the war. So that is what her concept is. So she says that, as we see the last paragraph, as he defeated dying on whose forbidden ear. So people have been as that of a forbidden ear. We never want to listen to the cry of the people who have been defeated in the war. We just say that if the war has been won, we just celebrate that. We just say that we won the war. We just think that success is that thing. We think that it is only sweetest. But rather than that, we never think over the people who defeated in war. We never think over the cry of the people in the war. So that is what the one step forward we can see, that how Emily Dickinson even think over the people who are been dying in the war. And the next poem which was written by Emily Dickinson is Because I Could Not Stop for Death. So again, you can see the concept of death is being used by Emily Dickinson. And the next writer is Henry David Thoreau. His particular themes which are being included in his poems are social issues, discovery, as well as satire. So, out of his poems like Walden, I am the autumnal sun, I knew a man by sight, indeed, indeed, I cannot tell. In spite of all these poems, I just thought to elaborate on Walden. Actually, we Walden is that which shows the connectivity towards the modernity. Like we people will think that in this technological world, we think moreover, some people will think that we should be get rid of this modernity. We just want peace. We just want to be relaxed and all. So the same concept, even though it was written long back, the poet had the same feeling as we feel now. So that is what the essence of those poets who have been told to be eminent poets. So in Walden, we can see it is a pond. Walden is a pond, and the poet just want the narrator just want to be relaxed. He never want to be in this polluted world. He just want to get rid of all the technological aspects. He just want to have relaxed calm life. So for that purpose, what he do is he chooses a Alden. He just go there, he just have bath, he just take food as he want, and he just be very relaxed. He'll be very connected towards nature. Apart from reading newspaper, apart from taking a cell phone and having a phone calls or seeing television, what he do is he just be relaxed in connected with nature. So even in David Thoreau, we can see how the poet is talking about the modernity, how he gives an insight into nature in his poets. Uh, and the next writer is Maya Angelou. So we all know that she is an autobiographist. Many of her poems itself will look like autobiographies. Or she has written many poems, essays, plays, as well as movies. And though we all know that she is a poet, she is also a memorist as well as civil rights activist. Her poems to introduce to you is very famous poems are On the Pulse of Morning, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. So all the themes which Maya Angelou chooses are will be on black women, black culture, racism, identity, family, as well as travel. In this particular first poem, which I just want to give an introduction, is On the Pulse of Morning. So this is the poem which he recited on the inauguration function of President Clinton, where you can see here in this particular poem, you can see Robert Frost has praised the colonization concept, whereas in this poem you can see Maya Angelou is attacking colonization in this poem. And the next poem, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, you can see the two contrast: African people who are being enslaved as well as American people. Here you can see the caged birds through the concept of birds. Either one is as free bird and the other is caged bird. So the free bird will go as it is. It whenever it wants prey, it takes. It will be very relaxed. Wherever it wants, it goes, and it will be very relaxed. It will be very calm. It will be very cool. Whereas the caged bird, which has been chopped its wings, and the legs also will be tied, and inside the cage it just sits. And one day what happens, the caged bird, in order to show its presence, or in order to show that it needs freedom, what it do is it just sits. So the main concept of this caged bird, which was written by Maya Angelou, is to show that the African people needs freedom. So here, through the words, we can see in the second stanza that, but a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars and rage. So bars and rage, it has been put inside the cage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. So it has no other way. At least it has been hoping that its voice will hear to someone at some end. So with hoping it just started to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. For the caged bird sings of freedom. For what purpose it sings is it's singing for freedom. So all the concepts of Maya Angelou poems will be on these things: racism, identity, and this sort of issues. And the next thing, we are going to move on with Edgar Allan Poe. So Edgar Allan Poe is the editor, he is a critic, he is a poet, and the themes that he uses is mystery, haunting, terror, horror, and you all know that he is the inventor of detective as well as science fiction. So whenever in America, any writer who writes a mystery plays or mystery concept, what will they give us? The mystery writer of America will get Edgar Award. So it is actually a tribute to Edgar Allan Poe. So this award will initially remind us about Edgar Allan Poe. And the poems which was written by Edgar Allan Poe are The Haunted Palace, Lenore, the Raven, the Sleeper, the Sonnet to Science. Actually, among these poems, I just want to give an insight into the Raven, which shows the melancholy of lost love, as well as you can see the mystery concept, the haunting, terror, and horror concepts. Like the raven is nothing but, again you can see the connection of nature. It is a bird, and once the narrator just wants to write a note on his lost love, he just want to be very calm. He just starts to write. At that time he hears a sound, he hears some tapping, rapping sounds, and he is being questioned, who is that outside. He just want to invite them, but while he opens the door there is no one. And finally, after long time, again and again, when the rapping and tapping sounds hears, he opens and finds the raven which is sitting on the bust of Pallas. And to get rid of the present situation, uh, the narrator is asking the raven whether, first of all, he asks about its name. What is your name? So, on that case, the raven says, Nevermore. In this particular poem, you can see the particular word is being repeated often, that is said to be nevermore. Initially, again, after asking its name, the narrator asks whether the present situation will change. Even for that, the bird will answer that it is nevermore. And he will say that whether my friends who are been no more with me, they all left for a long time, and will they be back? Again, the bird will say nevermore. And finally he will ask whether the lost lover will actually the lover name is Lenore. And you can also see the same concept is also used in one of the other poem which was written by Edgar Allan Poe, is Lenore, which was published in 1845 in the same year. And here, again, when the narrator questions whether the Lenore will come and join with me, what this raven will say is, no, it is not possible. That is what nevermore. And again, the frustrated narrator will tell that, you are the prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. So you're a bird or a devil, you're just giving a negative impression, negative comments. So just you go from where you come, you can go back. So that is what the actually the narrator will tell, that you are from a platonic shore, you are from hell, you have been here to just give me a negative comments, you just go. So even for that time, even for in such a case, the raven will tell nevermore. So this is how the poem will be, which was written by Edgar Allan Poe. He talks about raven. You can see the horror concept, the mystery concept, when initially when raven taps the door. And finally you can see the mystery will be following whenever the writer asks the question, whether about its name, whether they will he or she, he will be joining with the lost lover or not. So these are the thing you can see. The Poe's concept, which is related to his poems, will often be about mystery and horror. And the next poet is Sylvia Plath, one of the outstanding poet of our generation. Of our generation, you can see many people love her poems, and they think that she is the heroine to many of the feminist writers, feminist readers as well. And you know that she has married Ted Hughes, the future poet laureate. Who has edited a collection of poems, and she has also won Pulitzer Prize also. And though she is a poet, she is also a novelist, she is a short story writer, and she is famous for confessional poems. So she is a confessional poet, and many of the poems of her stood to be the evidence of that. So you can see the poems which was written by her are Lady Lazarus, Daddy, the Applicant, the Belja, and so on. And particularly in Lady Lazarus, we see that the thing, like the step forward, how she wants to commit suicide, and how many times she commits suicide, and finally how she attempts to suicide. Everything as that of a confession she makes to the readers. And initially, this particular poem, which was written by Sylvia Plath, is Lazarus is a character in Bible. We can see that the man has died, who was a friend of Jesus, and when Jesus was not with him, and the I mean this Lazarus who has died, and later 3 years, 3 days later, Jesus will ask him to come back, and the man will come alive after 3 days. Uh, and this concept actually is related to the poem Lady Lazarus. How? Because Sylvia Plath, she herself thinks that she is Lady Lazarus. Like she is committing suicide for the first time, and she comes back, that nothing will happen to her. So though she commits suicide, nothing will happen to her. She will be alive. So here we can see the concept of rebirth and resurrection, and as well as she is committing suicide for 3 times, and the third time only she dies. Actually, you can see the thing is like for in a year, every 10 months she used to do this, and finally she dies. And you all know that she has uh, uh, whenever whenever she commits whenever she just want to attempt suicide, she is very conscious about it, like she is want to do it. But for the first time it was a accident, but for the second time and third time she just tries it, and she just want to do it. So finally she committed suicide by putting her head inside the oven. So, and even the second in the second poem, which was written by Sylvia Plath's daddy, she talks about daddy as that of a Nazi soldier, and she thinks that she is a Jewish prisoner. The concept of Nazist and Jewish you can also see in the poem Lady Lazarus also. And the other poem which was written by her is The Applicant, where she gives you a theme of feminism, like how female are being portrayed. Like the applicant is that it is nothing but before marriage, a girl is just going out, and the people are checking whether she is being perfect, whether the things are perfect to her, whether her hand is good, whether her teeth is good, whether she have a false teeth or not, whether her eyes are good or not, whether she wears a glass or not, and all. So this is how she is being checked. And finally, through the lines you can see, but in 25 years she'll be silver. So girl is being tend to be silver in the age of 25, and in 50 she'll be as that of a gold, a living doll. A girl is a girl, or a woman is being tend to be a living doll. Everywhere you look, it can sew. So girl can sew, it can cook, it can talk. So as applicant, in this particular poem, uh, Sylvia Plath is just want us to know that how women are being treated before the marriage, how a women are being selected for a marriage. So finally, at the end of the stanza, you can see, you have an eye, it's an image, my boy, it's your last resort. So you have to choose. And finally, they will ask the women whether she is ready to marry it. So this is how this poem will conclude. And you can say that even man is also given an interpretation in this particular poem. And the next we are going to see is the eminent poets of British literature. The first one is D.H. Lawrence, David Herbert Lawrence. He has written many novels, he has written plays, essays, and travel books. Among his work, among his poems, I just want to give you an insight into Mosquito. And just have a look at these poems like Mosquito, Snake, Hummingbird. These all are being connected to nature, and you can see the themes always, most of his themes of D.H. Lawrence will be on reflection of modernity, it will be on industrialism, it will be on issues of sexuality and emotions. Particularly, this mosquito talks about whether the poet wins or the mosquito wins. Actually, we never think whenever mosquito bite us, we will never think to see its image, or we never think over its presence and all. But this writer admire it. He just having a challenge between him and mosquito. He just says that who will win the war, as it big war. He just having a challenge with the mosquito, and finally in this poem you can see mosquito is the one which wins. And but how the trick are being played by mosquito is portrayed in this poem. You can see, when did you start your tricks, monsieur? So this is how the poet is introducing mosquito to our eyes. And you can see blood, red blood, super magical, forbidden liquor. So this is how the thing the mosquito needs. It just need a red blood, and he just want to suck. He just want to be fill his tummy. And the poet says, finally, we'll see whether who wins. And ultimately, mosquito, which has been very thin, which is very weightless, and that is what ultimately wins the war. And the next poet is John Milton, who is famous for Paradise Lost, which is an epic poem. Apart from that, he has also written Paradise. He has also written Honest Blindness, and the concept which has been introduced by John Milton will be on God. So in Honest Blindness, we can see that he talks about his own experience. While he was 43 years old, he has become blind. The half of his life is in blindness, and he says that whenever we have problem, we will go and just argue with God, right? So same thing the poet is also doing. And while he was praying, he just realizes that God has given, though God has given blindness, God has also given him one poetic talent. So he just admire the thing that God has given to him. And while he was praying, he thinks that he just want to write poem for the sake of God in the rest of his time. And at that moment, some of the angels will tell in his ears that there are a lot of angels. You can see in the end of the stanza, like, his kingly thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. Actually, the angels are saying that there are thousands of angels to serve God, and how you are going to show your uniqueness. And this man, John Milton, says that yes, I have to stand and wait for the right time, so that I can do more for God. And likewise, the other poem, which was the other poet that we are going to see, is Wordsworth, who is the archpriest of nature. He is the first English romantic poet. Along with him, Coleridge published lyrical ballad. The poems which was published by Wordsworth are the Prelude, which is a semi-autobiographical poem, as well as Daffodils. So the many poems which was written by Wordsworth will be connected with the nature. So as we see this poem Daffodils, which talks about a flower which is in golden yellow color. The poet himself is saying that he is being compared to that of a cloud. He is just as he was wandering as that of a cloud in the vales and hills, he just sees a huge number of daffodils, which has been beside the lake and beneath the trees. They have been fluttering and dancing in the breeze, and his vision is being cited towards that. He has been happy at that particular company of the daffodils. He compares daffodils to that of a stars in the heaven. So you can see that how the poet is connecting them towards nature. In this particularly British poets, we can see that they are being connected towards nature. Even in the lines, you can see, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Rather than the wealth, the poet feels that the sight of daffodils is wealth for him. And he says that in vacant or in pensive mood, they flashed upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. He feels what is to be bliss, what is to be happiness is only the sight of daffodils. And the next thing is we are going to see is Coleridge. Coleridge is an English poet. He is a literary critic, philosopher, and theologian. The famous poem written by him is Christabel and the ancient of rhyme of ancient mariner. We all know this particular quote that water, water everywhere, and all the poets did drink water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Actually, this particular poem shows that it starts with a happy thing, but actually we when we read the poem we will be knowing it is a tragic tragedy which is being dealt in this poem. Here you can see the theme of supernatural element is introduced as the poem starts. You can see the ancient mariner who's waiting for his customer, and a man who will be who just want to go for a marriage ceremony. He will be waiting there, and this ancient mariner will have a conversation with the passenger, and he will tell the story which had happened long back. And that story will show you that how the tragedy had happened, how the supernatural element was introduced. You can see that in the story which was told by ancient mariner, uh, once there was a ice storm and the ship had misleaded, it has lost its way, and actually it was being led by a bird, and they think that the bird is the one which is the reason for the storm and which is the reason for losing the way. And finally ancient mariner will shoot that particular bird, and this will be a tragedy. And after this, in the end of the poem you can see even the passenger who just want to go for that marriage ceremony will go back to their home without even going to the ceremony. So this is how the tragedy is brought, this is how the supernatural element is brought in this particular poem by Coleridge. And the next poet is John Keats, who is the second romantic poet along with Byron and Shelley. You know that the themes which are being used by John Keats are beauty, Hellenism, sensuousness, romanticism, nature, and pessimism. More often, we can see the art, nature, and eternity in his poems. Most of the poems we can see that it is on ode, it will be on ode. So ode to nightingale, ode is nothing but addressing on something. And the poems which has been written by Keats are ode to nightingale, addressing on nightingale, ode to Grecian urn, ode to autumn, ode to melancholy. So you can see again the concept of nature, the concept of art, the concept of eternity is used in the poems of Keats. So here in Grecian urn, you can see it is nothing but a urn. There will be a painting. Many incidents are being painted. Initially, you can see the village, which is no one will be there in the village. It will be very empty. And the second image will be on a wedding ceremony. They will carry a bride, and a lot of piping will be playing on, and the other painting will be on a girl and a boy will be lying under a tree. They will having a chat, as well as on the other thing one boy will be running behind a girl, and he just want to kiss the girl, but he will even he could not do it. So actually the art will show you that the people who have went out of the village, when they will come, it is a question mark, and whether the boy will kiss the girl or not, it is a question mark. As well as you can see that the connection of showing you the eternity, that nature is eternity, the art is eternity. It will be, it is not, you can't even change the beauty of the bride, the beauty of the groom will be for long time, the eternity will be for long time. Even you can see the piping sound, though we can say that as in the lines you can say heard melodies are sweet, we say that only the heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter, therefore ye soft pipes play on. But we could not hear through the painting, we could not hear any of the sounds, but the piping will be play on until that particular urn is light. So the beauty is truth, and truth is beauty. That is all all should know on the earth. That is what John Keats wants us to know through this particular poem. And the next one is Percy by Shelley, who's a radical, social, as well as political poet. His poems like Ode to Skylarks, Ozymandias, and Ode to Westwind. Again, you can see the ode which has been left by Keats is been carried out by Shelley. So in Ozymandias, you can see that uh, the presence of the ancient king who had been long back lived, and the statue had been ruined, and through the uh, through the voice of the traveler we come to know who's that whose statue is that. And we can say that life is nothing. Life has been though we attain a lot of fame, life is nothing. So that is what the concept that Shelley wants to give to us through the poem Ozymandias. You can see that only through the pedestal, which has been on the at the end of the statue, you can see, "My name is Ozymandias, King of King. Look on my words, ye mighty and despair. Nothing beside remains." Though we attain fame and all, what is the last thing will remain is nothing remains. So though this man whose name is Ozymandias, who have lived long back, but once the statue has been destroyed, none of them will recognize that person. So that is what the concept the author wants us to remind. And the next is Thomas Gray, who is a letter writer, professor, self-critic, and he is a graveyard poet along with William Cooper and William Collins. He tend to be a graveyard poet, and his concepts will be on death. Its concepts will be on melancholy and mystery. In particularly elegy written in a country churchyard, which is the thing that gave him lot of fame. Apart from him to adversity, ode on a death of a favorite cat, drowned in the tub of goldfishes, ode on the spring. Apart from these poems, elegy written in a country churchyard was a famous poem which was written by Thomas Gray. Here you can see how Thomas Gray talks about give an insight into death. Like he just go to a country churchyard, he just sits there, he just think over the people who have been buried there, and he thinks that these people would have been, if they had been alive, they would have been there as that of a Milton, as that of a Hampton and all. And now he just says that, like in these words, like full many a gem of purest ray, serene the dark unfathomed caves of ocean bare, full many a flower is born to blush unseen. So though they are being talented, though the people who are being buried in that country churchyard, though they are being talented, they are attain their death so soon, and their talents are being blushed, their talents are being buried, it has been unseen to the world. So that is what he just want to say. As well as you can say, we should never mock at the people who are being poor. And he also says that um, uh, even in the epigraph you can see, once Thomas Gray is been wandering here and there, and when he has been missing on the next day, people will think that his name is Thomas Gray, who had been living for this moment, and he was been wandering here and there, and he is no more. And he says that this is how even I will be like this. So the concept of death he just introduces in this poem. Finally, we are going to see some of the Indian poets who brought more fame, Rabindranath Tagore, who is a composer, philosopher, social reformer, painter, as well as he is the one who reshaped Bengal literature. Though the themes of him will talk about motherland, freedom struggle, and the concepts of Indian poets will be on these things like freedom, patriotism, motherland only. And his poem will be as evidence for that is will be freedom. So he says that so far India has been bending its head for long time, and it should get its own position. and it has been as that of a puppet in the hands of the master for a long time, and in the brainless wire, it has been as that of a brainless wire. It is just like that, hearing all sort of commands and all, and it has been as that of a mimicry of life. It has been leading its life, and the motherland should attain its place. It should attain freedom. That is what the concept of Rabindranath Tagore. And one more poet who has written on the same title on freedom is, you can see is, um, here you can see, yes, Jainta Mahabhatra. Though Mahabhatra write the themes related to street cobbler, hungry street children, women in pain, real people, and human emotions, in freedom, the same concept of Rabindranath Tagore, he just talks about the freedom. Though we say that India is one freedom, there are also people who are being suffering in poverty even for one day meal. So he talks about that particular concept of freedom in his poem titled Freedom. And the next poet we are going to see is Nisam Ezekiel, who's a critic, who's an actor, playwright, Indian Jewish poet. He has also won two awards to his credit, Sahitya Academy Award as well as Padma Shri Award. His poems are as that of Enterprise and Night of the Scorpion. Enterprise, in that particular poem, you can see six stanzas which talks about the six stages of human life. So he just connects human life in his poem Enterprise. The people who will be eagerly, enthusiastically, they will be ready to go for pilgrimage. And in the second stage, as actually that first stage when they have been enthusiastically want to go for pilgrimage, that stage is compared to our childhood. Like we will be very innocent, we will be knowing nothing other than eating and all, right? So that is what enjoying our life. So that is what is told by Nisam Ezekiel. And the second stanza will tell you that people are being walking and they are being affected by sun. They'll be they will think that it is a problem, they could not even walk. And even in the third stage, they feel that they could not cross the landscape. They will see lot of descriptions like three cities where sages preaches, and they will see some goats, some snakes and all, and they could not cross the landscape as we face in the middle of our stage of life. Finally, they will lose all the hope. They will never want to go one step forward also. They could not even walk. As we in our human life we face in the old age time, as that of that, this poet is connecting enterprise to the stage of human life. At the end, they feel that home is our safer place rather than this. So again, the concept of homeland is again introduced in this poem, by this poet Nisam Ezekiel. And the other poem written by him is Night of the Scorpion. uh, Here you can also see the supernatural element imposed by the people. The poet just want us to be aware of supernatural elements. Like he just says, when the scorpion has stinged his mother, people have told him that the sins of your previous birth be burnt away tonight. They said, the people are saying that the sins, you have done lot of sin in your previous birth, and to remove your sin, what is the thing that have happened presently is this scorpion had been sting, and in the your pain will be gone, your evil thing will be gone from you. So this sort of supernatural element is introduced, and finally, after all sort of pujas and all, his mother will be back. And when she opens her eyes, first of all she will ask that whether my child is safe or not. So here we can also say that Nisam Ezekiel also shows the feeling of motherhood also. And the next thing is Gauri Deshpande, next poet, who is a poet from Maharashtra. She has written poems in Marathi too, and her poems like Female of the Species, Between Birds, Lost Love, Beyond the Slaughterhouse, all the all of her poems will be on the themes like isolation, lost love, human relationships, the feeling of frustration, alienation, and sadness. Actually, this female of species, she just says us, females are being comfortable with by talking to females alone. Like they can share their feelings only. They feel that while we tell our feeling to female, they will understand our feeling in a better manner rather than we tell to a male person. So whenever they have a group, whenever the female are being together, they talk about the price of the tea, the price of the rice, and they talk about the scarcity of the kerosene and all. So they will never have any other concept at all. They just talk about their home, they talk about their children, they talk about their husband. So this is how the female art, which is being showed by Gauri Deshpande. And even one more writer who have written on the same topic is Rudyard Kipling. He has written on female of the species, he has written on the same topic. Whereas there he says that whether how much women are being powerful when compared to man. And the next writer is A.K. Ramanujan. He knows more language like Telugu, in English, Kannada, Tamil, and Sanskrit. He is a poet. He is a scholar, translator, folklorist, and playwright. He has also won Sakitya Academy Award for collection of his poems. His famous poems among is River, Astronomer, Still Life. And particularly to say, he just chooses. I just chooses a chosen river poem for you to have an insight, how Ramanujan criticizes the old poets and how he praises new poets. Here you can see the river poem actually talks about the river Vaigai, which is in Madurai in India, in Tamil Nadu. Here, in those days, the old poets used to praise its appearance, how it is very beautiful, how it is very clean. Whereas the new poets, and whereas they will never talk about the other thing, whether it has been polluted or not. The old poets will never think over the negativity. They just praises whatever the beauty alone, whether it is temple or whether it is about the river. Whereas the new poets, they will talk about the beauty also. They will criticize what is been in the present, whether it has been polluted or not. And the next writer is Thorodat, who is the first Indian poetess in English. She is actually an Anglo-Indian poet, translated to. She and her sister, along with her sister, she has published a Gleaf, Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields. This is actually a collection of French poems, and many of the concept of Taurodat poems will be on pain, death, loss, and memory. Particularly to say is our Kasurina's tree, which has been taken from ancient ballad and legends Hinduism, where you can see it is a tree. Though Thoradat is migrated to some place, and there she sees that tree and she recollects her memory. Like it will be as that of a nostalgic memory. Next poet is R. Parthasarathi, who has written Exile. Again, you can see the concept of Indian writers. Not only it will be on motherland, it will be on migration too. Like how much they suffer once they get rid of India and all. So in Exile, you can see the three part will be there. Like it is actually taken from Rough Passage, where you can see the first concept, it will be of exile, like moving from India, and the trial period, where how much they are moving with that particular migrated land, and later homecoming. So three things will show you the insight, like how people are being suffering once they go for migration. And the next poet is G.V. Patel, whose his poems actually will be of that of conversational poem. It will he is the one who uses more images. Even the concept introduced by him are like stopping deforestation, murder, death, and violence. Even you can see his poems. Have a look at these poems, like on killing a tree, postmortem, public hospital, old man's death. So everything will be of death, will be of killing or violence. So on killing a tree, it is a concept where it gives a awareness to the people that we should never cut the trees. So even we can say that only when we see the blood, it is not only the murder. Even when we pull it out, when we choke it out, it is also a thing which is interpreted as that of killing. And the next is Anglo-Indian poets has Henry Derosio, whose concept will be on philosophy, science, history, patriotism, and Western learning. He is actually a national part of modern India. He is being called as that, and he is a radical thinker. He is the headmaster of Hindu College, which is in Kolkata. He is the founder of Young Bengal movement. Actually, this to my native land is again it talks about India concept alone, how India has been lacking its freedom and how it needs its past glory. And the next is Sarojini Naidu, who is being called as a Nightingale of India. She is the Indian political activist, and many of her poems will be on Indian struggle, independence, folk, patriotism, love, joy, and hope. And poems actually, you can say, Indian weavers, it talks about the stages of life like birth, marriage, and death. And there are also many eminent poets in English literature, like Irish poets, in Irish poets you can see Dylan Thomas, a Welsh poet like W.B. Yeats, who's famous for the Ballad of Father Gilligan and also Second Coming. Anglo-Irish poet Oliver Goldsmith, who's famous for the Village Schoolmaster. African poet H.D.O., who has written Africa and America poem. And looking into this new England poets, who comes first is Robert Frost. Apart from H.W. Longfellow, Edwin Allington Robinson, Phyllis Whitley, we can see that the prominent is Robert Frost. Even we have German writers, Chile poet, Spanish poet. So as I told in this session, I could not cover all the world poets. Only few poets I can bring to light. And the more important concept of recapturing these poets, recapturing their poems is, I feel that the only tool that will make us to understand the concept better is stylistics. So as per Pater, who's as defined style as in the 19th century, is he has written a volume of essays as that of literary appreciation. He says that the right word in right place. So there a lot of corpuses, lot of linguistic units are there, but each and every poet have their unique style. They say that they have poetic license. They can use any n number of they can use n number of arrangements. They can have their own style. They can use their own length, and so on. As that of that, you can say, for example, without punctuation, it is also one of the thing. Without that, the language could not be understandable. So you can see the capitalization. Like for example, he Cummings is a poet who uses his name itself in small letters rather than capital letter. That is one of his style. And the other thing you can say that is, each and every language has its rules, its norms, and its systems. If we mislead, or if we do a combination with three letters, if it is not properly arranged, what will happen is we lose its meaning. Which tend to be, if it has been like innovatively introduced by the poetess, then it can be called as experimental or innovative writing. For example, in Buffalo's Bill poem, you can see words have been arranged without any gap, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and all. And the next thing is the poet, the famous poet Dylan Thomas, to convey a special message in a stanza, one of the sentence he says that a griff or go. So in spite of using minute ago, years ago, decade ago, the poet is using this sort of words. So in such a way that it shows that the poet has the poetic license, and in such a way to give us knowledge towards language also. And when we talk about the arrangement of words in John Milton Paradise Lost, you can see how he uses words or the sentences in order to use melody, or in order to introduce some music, rhyme, rhythm, and so on. So it shows the poetic license of the poet. The syntax pattern, the arrangement of words, how the sequence it is, how far it has been rhythm, how far it is having a rhyme scheme, the imagery, and so on. So rhyme scheme, in the sense, what we think is, it talks about alliteration, it talks about assonance, half rhyme, onomatopoeia, the neologism. If you can see here the graphological feature in the poem called as snake. So snake, in the first initial letter itself, it tells you the theme that we are going to read inside the poem. So this is how the stylistics will make the readers to have a recap of the poem which was written by the eminent poets. And the other thing, when we talk about the form, we have to think over the stanza division, punctuation, capitalization, and so on. So even you can see pregnant. When we see this word in the middle, you can see G. It is that of a pregnant lady itself. So this is how stylistics is introduced to recapture the poems. Even in the poem Q, we can see inside the poem, each and every word will be standing in a queue itself. So it will give you an idea that the poem is going to talk about that. And again, you can see in group poem, where the idea of eternity is introduced, the deathlessness is introduced. In order to show the shortness of life, the poet is using short vowels. So this is how you can feel the essence of the poem, even through lexis, even through syntax. For example, down fell Lucifer in Milton's Paradise Lost. Rather than Milton can say Lucifer fell down, what type of sentence he chooses is down fell Lucifer. So this is how the sentence is created, the structure has been created, the utterance is created in order to make ourselves involved in that particular poem. And next, when we talk about semantic, we come to know about polysemy, anatomy, synonymy, connotation, and denotation. So, for what, in what sense the poet is writing the poem, and there is also a lot of personification which is used in the poems. And when we talk about pragmatic level of discourse, the poet may mean something, and we may mean something in when we read the poem. So, for example, the connotative meaning in the sense is, like, we give examples of they kissed in public and it was outrageous. But in India, we never kiss in public, so it is outrageous. We feel that it is outrageous. So it is not possible. So such concept we can think over when we think over stylistics. And the sounds which is being involved inside the poem, which shows the graphological feature also. Like, for example, when we talk about the stanza division, if the poem is consisting of three stanzas or five or seven or nine, we can just imagine, on we just can say that it is a magical numbers. Okay. And for example, here in the poem baby, we can see form a point, from a point grows into a sensation to be born sweet. So when we draw a line beside that particular sentences, you can see the shape of bulging of a stomach of a pregnant lady itself. So this is how the stylistics is helping us to get the idea of what the poet want to convey. And the next thing is here in Puducherry, the great professor Dr. D. Nyanashekaran has written Thane cyclone poem. Actually, this Thane in our Puducherry, it happened long back. It was a cyclone, and people were being have a lot of struggles over due to that. And he has written this poem on that time, and we had analyzed from a graphological feature, from a phonological feature, in that sense, which gives an idea towards the poem. And finally, we also say that this particular session, I feel, to conclude this session, I feel that I hope we are going to have a great day tomorrow. Like, it is, though as it is a World Poetry Day, we are going to enjoy it, we are going to honor. And this session, this webinar will be an initial step to give you an to show the honor and tribute to the eminent poets who have been given us a lot of poems to our hands. Actually, I can say that when we analyze the poem in the sense of stylistics, it will give you a better understanding of their stanzas. And the poetry day is going to be a wonderful one. I hope this insight will be enough for you for today's session. So thank you so much. Thank you, Institute of Global Profession, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to give an insight into these many poets, which I can bring to you now. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man, for your outstanding presentation. Actually, I have learned different types of poet from you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We have come back together after our after the question and answer session. After a short video, please come back together again, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are you ready to answer the question? Ma'am, are you ready to answer the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participant, it's our question and answer session time. You can send your question in our comment box and make sure to put it one by one so that our speaker understand it well. So participants are requested to ask their question in the comment box. If you have any question, you can freely ask the question. Our speaker will be ready to answer the question. Dear participants, we are still waiting for our question. After question and answer session, we will share our certification process. Then our first question from Ma'am Evelyn. Good evening, ma'am. How do poetry influence our learners in this time of pandemic? Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. And I hope this is a valid question. How do poetry influence our learners in this time of pandemic? Yes. Actually, this time actually made many young students, young generation to write poems. I actually thank this, though it is a pandemic time, though it has been a disaster for many, but this time had given an opportunity to have people to write poems. They are conducting lot of competitions around the world, as that of not only as that of webinar, as that of conferences. There are also quiz competitions. There are also competitions that are held for students and even for young peoples. So this will initially will make people to write poem on their own. This will not only make them to by heart poem, but also it will make them to write on their own. It will help them to check their own talents. It will check them. It will make them to check their own language as well. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is, hello, Dr. Panikaria. My question is, what is the most used words and themes of our poets on today's serial?
Yes. In this present concept, actually, as I told, the eminent poets, each and every, it is worldwide, right? It talks about British, it talks about America, it talks about India, it talks about each and every country, and their works, their concept of poems will be on different things. Even we, as we are in the pandemic, uh, those writers who have written here long back also, they have talked about this pandemic also. So it connects us, it connects each and every people. It not only to one particular generation. Why? Because this, the poets who have written long back also, even now we think them, we praise them, we honor them. Why? Because this, we can connect through the poems. We just connect to the experience which the poet has written in their work. I feel so that whatever the poems which have been written so far by eminent poets, we can just grab the essence of the poems, to the themes that they actually took to give to us.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, we are still waiting for our question. And our next question from Crispiano. Then how can we encourage the present generation to read, study the works of the poets of the previous generation?
Yes. uh, that is how we have to do. In the present generation, we can see, though they write poems on their own, but many of the people will never look back the poets who have written so far. Just for their syllabus aspect, just for their learning aspect, they can read. But as I feel, this is the good question of the day, to give a the present generation, to give a lesson, like how we can make them to read. This is the thing. Like for example, there is a Shakespeare's Day, there is a book day, and all, which give you an insight, which gives the young generation an insight that there was long back this sort of poet who had been lived, and they had written this type of concept and all. And we should encourage them. We should say that we can conduct this, we can conduct either in institution level or a college or a school level. We can encourage them to read the work which was written by the eminent poets. We can encourage and motivate them to read from a stylistic aspect. We can ask them to analyze the poem in a joyful manner, not only instructing them to read this and that, not to make them to by heart and all, but we can in a joyful manner, in a enjoyable manner, we can encourage them to analyze the poem. We can encourage them to read the poem which was written by the previous poets.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Joshua. Who are your top three poets with ideas and themes, both incorporating interesting 21st century student?
Yes. Actually, in this case, what I feel is not only the present writers but also the poets who have given us lot of themes which I can connect with my own feeling, my own ideas. I feel in such a way is both American and Indian writers. Not to limit them, I just admire, I just like I can go to their whenever I read their poems, I feel that I am inside that particular poem. In such a way, I feel Sylvia Plath. I can feel Robert Frost. As I love nature, he has interpreted nature in such a way. And in present generation, in this present century, also there are a lot of poets, even Indian poets like Gauri Deshpande, who have given us the connection towards the theme. Through the theme, they are giving us a connection towards nature, towards land, towards the source of this present life itself. They are just giving us a connection between life and death itself. So it shows awareness, not only for me. I think this will be awareness to each and everyone. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Fadila Rijali. Do you think poetry is an inborn talent or it can be learned?
Yes, it is. Though it can't be learned, we can just teach them how to write, or we can teach them this is how the rhyme scheme should be. This is how you should arrange the words, or this is how you can a stanza should be constructed. We can teach them. We can teach certain things, but it should be an inborn talent. Like without inborn talent, we can't. Like we can't express our ideas, we can't express what we think itself, right? So it should be inborn talent.
Thank you, ma'am. We have no more question. Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving us your valuable time. I think today's topic is very effective for our audience as you share your best knowledge with us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much for actually this webinar. I can meet lot of people here. They have given me an insight. I just feel this is my honor to be here to give them an insight about world poets, uh, which we are going to celebrate tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, today our program name is Imminent Poet, Recapturing through words and things, and the code is IGP 3987. The code is IGP 3987. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. For download your code, you have to go to our website. Our website name is eduigp.com, and the code is IGP 3987. Thank you very much for attending today's session. We hope we will meet together in our next session tomorrow. Thank you very much.